Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby Perry. This is the 19th episode of BPerryFilms podcast. We will be talking about the evolution of dance, most importantly, the style of hip hop. Many people say that this is a dying art form, but me and my guest, Cjaiilon Andrade, aka Snapboogie, will be sharing that that is not the case. Cjaiilon Snapboogie is a street style hip hop dancer. You may have seen him on the shows like America Got Talent and was featured in the movie The Way, Way Back, and owns his own dance company called Beauty and the Streets, where he provides a platform for artists and street performers to create their own NFTs. Cjaiilon, please can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said perfectly. Um, my name is Cjaiilon Andrade. Most people know me as Snap Boogie. I'm a former America's Got Talent finalist. And I was also in a movie called The Way, Way Back, along with Steve Carell from Rudolph. And I am the creator of the first dance emote NFT in the world, which means basically if you buy my NFT, it will allow you to use my dance move inside of specific video games that I'm partnered with, which is a great use for blockchain technology and all that kind of stuff. And it's actually going to change the way people will see dance as a whole. What I'm doing with my company is it's not really a dance company per se. It is a company where we specialize with blockchain, like blockchain technology. It's an entertainment company, and as a whole, I mean, most of us, what we do is like I started off as a dancer, so yeah, it's my company is going to be around dance. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're providing a marketplace or a place for people to be able to create an NFT and sell their NFT on the market.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So before we get into everything, I like to start up my podcast with some definitions. So what is dance to you?
I mean, that's a really hard question. I've for me, like dancing is like what I grew up knowing. Dance was just me dancing to the rhythm, like, moving your body to the music and being able to communicate with the music effectively with your body and soul,
I agree. I believe that dance is just a sequence of movement. It doesn't always have to be done with music, but usually the music amplifies things and brings artistry of storytelling. That's why I
Yeah.
feel like people. Since you're a hip hop dancer, I would like to ask you about how it originated. How did it get started? And, how did it become what it is today?
I mean, when it comes to hip hop, there's a lot of different things to unpack. I mean, the main dance style that I do is called popping, which actually originated from funk and everything, and the funk style music and all that kind of stuff. And then the hip hop era came, and popping was just kind of like in the umbrella of hip hop because it was still cool and flashy, and hip hop, it was all about being flashy at that time. Yeah, what I do is a dance style called popping. Came from like its roots was like funk and like, James Brown era, all that kind of stuff. Like, way before hip hop was even thought of, but popping was really flashy and cool. So it kind of went under the umbrella of hip hop at one point because poppers and lockers, they started dancing to like hip hop music as well, as the times evolved. Sort of like now, like you see like there's a lot of new styles of hip hop coming out, like getting sturdy and all that kind of stuff. I'm still going to be popping to the dance music, to those dance musics, the style of the music, which is I think it's called drill and all that kind of stuff. But it really, like, a lot of people say that hip hop started in New York, which I believe is true. Everybody, no one knows really 100% where it really started, especially the dance style that we know. I mean, I guess the dance style started in New York. Definitely breaking started in New York. It's very hard to determine all of these things. I just know that hip hop kind of started in New York as a whole. That's what's said. But, you know, I wish I could give you the best explanation, you know,
Well,
because
when I
there's
was doing my own research as well, they didn't have like a specific date. They just said 1960s, the late 1960s, 1970, and it started in New York by a Jamaican DJ. His name was Cool DJ Herc.
DJ Herc, yeah. DJ
Yeah,
Cool Herc.
and it started out in New York, and then I guess someone from the West Coast had seen the art form and started creating their own version of it.
Yeah.
And about hip hop is that it's a collection of many styles like African dance, modern dance,
Mm-hmm.
just all these different cultures mixed together, and it was created like its own, like how you had mentioned. There's popping and locking, breaking, stepping, and stuff like that, and all these other new art forms that are coming to life. And I believe it has evolved. Before, you would only see it on the streets or at house parties. And me and you went to Boston Arts, and anytime when people had like arguments or whatever, you guys would be like, let's take it to the cafeteria and let's just battle it out by dancing. Nothing had to be physical or anything, but it was just neat seeing numbers on one side of the cafeteria, and then you have the B-boys and the B-girls. Is that a term, B-girls? But performing.
That's it. That's a term.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, it was definitely like, I mean, to me, my definition of hip hop is a lot different than everybody else's definition. Hip hop hasn't really been fully defined, in my opinion. And my thing is I think of hip hop as just like coming from like the ghettos of a USA type of neighborhood, you know, and you know, who just trying to like use the things that you have to create value in your life. You know, such as like, you know, starting from like nothing to something. Part of hip hop, you know, music like rapping, you know, rapping to the beat, you know, just really becoming powerful lyrically, stuff like that, creating vibrations around you, you know, but all those vibrations come from the ghetto, the ghettos, the US ghettos and stuff like that, you know, because I guess we're the ones who've actually inspired a lot of ghettos around the world to want to be like us, walk and talk and be like us, you know?
Yeah, and in most styles, people look down on hip hop and people don't know the origins of how it started. Like I had mentioned before, it came from African swing, tap, jazz, and all these other traditional styles. And I think it's interesting how we are starting to highlight it on TV shows like So You Think You Can Dance. I think they made a show called World of Dance. It used to be a dance competition that you would do theaters and have people from different states, different countries compete for money or for philanthropy reasons. And I think it's great that it's being commercialized on television and movies and stuff so people can inspired and get into it. Instead of saying, oh, you have to do ballet to be considered formal dance style, you have to do jazz to be formal dance style, you have to do jazz or something like that. And now we have hip hop and people know what it is and how it's rooted. We can appreciate the art form and make it go to the next level if we have more support for it. And I can't believe that it took for so many years. I think it took for it to be on So You Think You Can Dance, to count dance as a whole, to be counted as a sport. And people don't understand the level of execution, the long hours of rehearsals, the acrobatics, the stunts, everything that goes into making this performance unique and its own original flavor. It's great to see that now. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I have a lot of opinions on like dance being a sport and all that kind of stuff. But like, as a whole, I think dancers do put a lot of wear and tear on their body, like people who practice on sports. But the difference between sports and dance is like there's an art behind it. I mean, there's definitely some sort of an art behind sports, but it's just very basic. You know, you can. But when it comes to art, there's nothing stopping it from going from one place to the next. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't have as many rules. You got a lot more to play with. And then sometimes there are rules, but it's not as strict, you know. Sometimes, you know, there's a lot of, I guess, what we say, gatekeepers in the art community and stuff like that. So one of the greatest things about art is that you can go around the gatekeepers and do your own thing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And let's talk about the music. What type of music would you see to hip hop back in the day compared to now?
I mean, it's definitely different. You have, like, back in the days, music was like DJ Kool Herc, like you said, KRS-One, all of those guys. They pioneered and shaped the way hip hop is today. Even though the vision of hip hop that they had wasn't the vision that the newer generation has right now and everything. But the good thing about it is that they definitely put food on people's plates. They allowed people like us to thrive. They were the ones to like be there in the beginning and give us some sort of a template to how we should go about things, you know. But hip hop has definitely been a little bit hijacked by people who had lots of money, who didn't want this vibration to stick, in my opinion, the older vibration to stay. I guess, you know.
It's great because everyone has a different perspective. We were even talking about art in its own way. Like with music, there's a specific sound for each generation. Every 10 years, there's like a new sound.
Yeah, always a new sound.
Like the rhythm, the pacing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's pushed by people with lots of money that want to, that they have like some sort of they have some sort of a want to change the industry, you know. For some reason, I don't know why that is, but yeah.
Well, it's great to see it evolve. Like even with ballet, you have the romantic era that started first with them with the flowy dresses to mimic what people used to dress on the street, going back and forth. You got the classical era where they're wearing tutus and showcasing their legs. You have modern dance, contemporary, neoclassical ballet, and they all have similar aesthetics, but they all have differences. And it's important that we change with the times because it keeps it current. If you're not evolving, people become complacent, you know? So it's great to have everyone have their own little flavor, their own pizzazz, and their own creativity. And I believe with hip hop, you're able to have that creative freedom compared to other styles.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of amazing, like I would love to see where hip hop goes from here, to be honest. Just kind of knowing my OGs, as you call it, all of this that's happening nowadays. Now we have like the drill scene. Drill scene came from the gangs in New York and London and all that kind of stuff. And now there's some art that's coming out of it. You know, there's a lot of new dance styles. There's one dance style called Getting Sturdy and everything. It's a whole new dance style. You know, there's, you know, crumping, you know, that was an older dance style that came from gangs. And now you got Getting Sturdy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you know, I can't wait to see how hip hop evolves, because once it was created, I think it just won't stop for a long time, you know?
Right. And let's go into the different styles of hip hop. Let's start with breaking. and that's one of your styles, along with popping and locking. Can you
Yeah.
describe the types? That's
Yeah, breaking is just, for me, like, I like breaking. I love I like breaking. Started off from, like, I guess in New York, where some people say it was these guys called the nigga twins and everything, but we're not sure. But a lot of people are saying it started from them. There's another guy named Spivey. He was a part of the beginning. Zone, TDK. They were all, like, a lot of these guys are my friends too. They were all in the beginning part, except for the nigga twins. I don't know too much about the nigga twins and everything. You know, and it all started off as just like them rocking. It was never really like what I've heard. It was never really them trying to, and I got different stories also, by the way. But what I thought it was like, it all started off with rocking, where your body's up top and you're just moving to the rhythm, where you're moving your feet around a certain way to go with the music. And then somebody one time ended up introducing footwork, and then that's when you go down onto the floor and you move your feet around, and people, I heard that people went crazy for that. So then you had power moves. They came in, and that kind of like really brought the whole dance together as a whole. So now you have top rock, footwork, power, and it just kind of meshed into something. Who's to say that the dance won't change? It's really cool that it's accepted in the Olympics now. And
I heard. That's great.
yeah, and I'd say that that's the main form of hip hop dance. That's the very first actual true hip hop dance style that came about.
That's good. Let's go into popping and locking. What are the similarities and differences between the two?
Popping and locking. Well, locking was the first dance, actually. Locking is a dance where you do wrist rolls, points. So, like, if you ever see disco and you see these people doing styles like this,
yeah,
it's similar, but it's not actually locking. But when you see, like, there's a lot of history. It's really hard to break everything down in this short span of time, to be honest, because basically, like, locking was the originator, though, to make it short, and they had a lot of, like, flips and movements in there and stuff like that, that sometimes breakers would take. Like, there would be a certain kind of split that James Brown would do, and a lot of lockers used to use that split. It was just kind of a thing. And then lockers like to do like a little tacky robot, and they would call it the robot, because I guess robots were like a big thing. It was really cool back in the days, and they were trying to imitate a robot. And then poppers, they would take that to the next level, and they would kind of just like freak the robot, make it really like defined, and then they would just kind of create illusions with their body. So popping, I feel like popping and breaking were kind of like, they kind of veered off a little bit on the opposite side of the spectrum and everything. And then, like, locking was just kind of like the tree where it grew. It created the roots of the dance. Similarities to everything comes from, I'd say it comes from locking, and then just kind of like bunching all the dances together, you'll see that, like it's really hard to explain. I think you just have to be a part of the culture to really understand it. I think you really have to be in it to win it. So
yeah, it's a lot different from most shows. Like me personally, when I go to the hip hop shows, the crowd is very animated. They're like screaming, clapping, dancing too. Like they're very involved, and I love the connection that you guys make with the audience, versus us, where we have to wait for certain variations to end, and then we clap, and then at the very great finale, we stand up and clap and be like,
Yeah.
encore, encore. No, it's a lot different.
Yeah. It's definitely like it's right in your face. The energy is there, you know, and there's just like it's just like a full-on conversation that's happening while you're doing the dance and while you're not doing the dance too, you know, which I think is amazing. And it's just it's a vibe. It's a vibe.
So next we're gonna go into house. Please can you describe that style and how did that one originate?
Housing came into the club, started from the clubs in New York City, and then it just kind of expanded. House started in this is not the style that I'm well versed in. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that it started in New York City and the club scene, and it really meshed with hip hop really well. But the music was different. It was definitely a more like funky style and different sound. Sort of like it's similar to a techno feel, but with less techno-ish and more soul and black soul kind of type thing. So one of the things is that it's really hard to differentiate techno with house because, you know, a lot of people, like for me it's not because I understand it, but for other people it's very hard because it's like you have to understand Black culture to understand what house is and everything. And that's where a lot of people get kind of confused with when it comes to house.
Definitely. I like it. I was just watching some videos earlier and I'm like, this is kind of funky. I like it.
Yeah. Now, like a lot of people worldwide have kind of like adopted it and just kind of started bringing it to Japan and Ireland, Canada, like all these crazy places, and they're dancing house styles all over, you know.
Next, we're gonna go into stepping. Many people have seen that in sororities and also in movies like You Got Served, Stomp the Yard, just naming a few. Yeah.
Oh, so I don't know much about stepping like that, but I know my sister that did it a long time ago, so I don't know too much about stepping, and but I do love it.
I did it in school. It's usually done by a group of people, and there's a lot of body movement, whether it's stomping, clapping, slapping.
It's a lot of rhythm. It's a lot of rhythm. You think it was originated from tap dancing?
Right.
I have a feeling it started like tap dancers like helped polish that style.
Definitely. And the last one that I can think of right now, there are more styles, but I'm just stating the ones that people are more familiar with. And it's freestyle. Describe that one to you.
It's just you and the music. That's it. Freestyle is not really hard to really explain. It's just you and the music. Anybody can do it, you know. Some people like certain kinds of freestyle and some people don't, and so it's you and the music and the eye of the beholder or something like that.
And usually it's not choreographed. It's usually just your flow. It can incorporate any type of movement, any type of beat, any type of
type of sound. Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty much it.
Now we're gonna go to the fun part.
I mean, so one of the things like with breaking is like breaking, you're freestyling usually. You know, you're using the dance style breaking. you know, popping, you can freestyle popping. Most of the hip hop dance styles are used like in freestyle, like they're using freestyle pretty much. But I think freestyle originated from hip hop dance styles, like what we do today. And it's kind of been taken on, and other people have adopted it with their own styles. So you might see some white folks, or, you know, like in the techno scene doing some like, you know, weird movements, but that's also a part of freestyle. You know, you can probably freestyle some ballet. It's just about you creating movements with your body to the music, without having to choreograph or come up with a pre-made movements that you thought of in your head. You just kind of go, you know.
Now we're going to go into the fun part where I ask you some questions about your career, and then we'll go to NFTs. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that, but we'll save that towards the end.
Yeah.
So when you started, what gave you the name Snapboogie? How did that originate?
Cool. My name was originated because actually, so when I was younger, I started dancing, and I joined a dance crew called the Floor Lords. The Floor Lords, at the time, I didn't know who they were. I just knew my mom would tell me about them, and they had a big name in the dance scene out here in Boston. You know, everybody knew who they were, especially if you were from the hood or the ghetto and everything. And I always wanted to be a part of something positive like that, you know. I ended up going to their practices, learning how to dance. And my mom used to be really super associated with the Floor Lords, but I didn't know that at the time. And then, so I kept just going to practice, and I like fell in love with the dance. And I just kept practicing and practicing and practicing. And one day my mom shows up to practice to pick me up, because I think we had to go somewhere. I don't know exactly where I had to go, but they didn't know that she was my mom until she showed up to the practice. And my mom, they were like, "Hey, Marita, how are you? What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I'm picking up my son." And then they were like, "Who's your son?" And they're like, and she said, "Snap." Or not Snap, I mean Cjaiilon, or CJ. That was my name at the time. And then they told me, then they went crazy, because I didn't know this, but an uncle that passed away before I was born was already in the dance crew and everything. And, you know, they were like super excited about that. And so they were like, "Yo, do you know who your uncle was?" And yada, 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 all of this kind of stuff. And they started asking me like, you know, they started like giving me the rundown of about my uncle and who he was and why he died and all of that kind of stuff. So basically later down the line, as I was dancing, they just started saying that I reminded them of my uncle, and they started calling me Snap too. And then Facebook, I started using Facebook a lot at the time. This was probably like in 2005, 2006 or something like that. When I was using Facebook, I was trying to create my profile as Snap too, but I wasn't able to use a number.
That name, yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up writing Snapboogie, because I love to boogie, and I knew about like boogie was like a big thing in the culture. That word was it just meant something to a lot of people. So it ended up just sticking and staying, and then lots of originally it was Snap too, but then lots of people just all around the world just started calling me Snapboogie, because they were on my Facebook page.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And what does the boogie mean, so people can get context?
I guess like
boogieing.
Like,
yeah,
like you boogie down, like when you get boogie, you're dancing. I guess most people, when they say, "Yo, you're about to boogie," I guess you're about to go dance, you know? Yeah, so I guess, yeah, dancing just means dance.
I'm gonna ask you, what made you go to Boston Arts Academy for dance? Was it to enhance your experience in hip hop or get well-rounded in other fields?
To be honest, I wanted to go there because I didn't want to go and be caught up in a school that was gang infested, because all the schools, they had like people who was like, they were just like, you had to be a part of certain, like it was just kind of crazy because a lot of people were like getting beat up and all that kind of stuff in different schools, like the Mattapan and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't have really much options. So I wanted to kind of go to a school that would keep me out of trouble. And I knew that if you went to Boston Arts Academy, there weren't really too many fights or anything like that. And I could do what I love to do a little bit more and stuff like that. But to my surprise, there were a few fights.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a few real fights in there.
it happened. It's a normal thing that goes on with any schools, and
Yeah.
you're trapped in a certain environment.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to ask you, how has the pandemic affected you? I know a lot of people had to shut down, a lot of shows weren't being run. I think now that COVID is letting loose, even though there's a lot of cases that I mentioned in my previous episode, people are trying to get back into the groove of being traditionally like normal, even though in some spaces are shut down completely. Some places are trying to navigate through technology, taking classes on Zoom or a hybrid model. How has
Yeah.
it affected?
I mean, definitely performing at festivals, and like I was like, my career was about to take off, and then the pandemic hit, and I was just like, what the hell? You know, and it just kind of really like forced me to like learn, um, so I can take whatever I'm doing to the next level.
Mhm.
People would ask me to kind of come in and do a show on Zoom and everything, and I was just like, yeah, that's cool, but it doesn't feel good. It's not there. You're not there in the face of flesh. It just was weird. So I didn't like that. And so I just kind of like stopped doing that as a whole. And I just focused on things that I knew about, which was cryptocurrency and blockchain. And then I realized that I can use blockchain technology to reshape dance as a whole, not just the street dance, but dance as a whole, you know,
Mhm.
by allowing, because there is a lot of issues on like who created what, when, and why, and all that kind of stuff. Actually, as we discussed it earlier today,
Mhm.
we were talking about like hip hop, and I couldn't give you like a clear answer about like where it originated and what it's what like in the background behind it all and things of that nature,
Yeah.
because we don't have this technology. We don't have this technology called blockchain, you know, and blockchain is really, really, is gonna like shape the way we do things in the world. And I learned about it during the pandemic. I was like learning more about it because I was already into cryptocurrencies, because I wanted to know what I was investing in,
Mhm.
wherever I put my money. So I, yeah, like I said, I was just learning about it, and then I ended up coming up with like NFTs and realizing that I can turn dance moves into an NFT and then put them on the blockchain forever. That way, I can say, hey, I created this dance move at this time of my life. I'm the first one, you know? So,
Yeah. Could you describe what NFTs are and how it became a big thing? I know in a lot of groups on Clubhouse, Connect Club, and on YouTube, everybody's talking about NFTs, and I'm just like, what is this thing? You know? So I had a conversation with you, and you were kind of educating me on it, and you're like, you got to get hip to it. I'm like, let me do my
yeah.
homework and see where
So
this.
basically, it's very hard to explain in one take, but I'll do my absolute best. An NFT is short for a non-fungible token. The main thing about blockchain technology and crypto and all that kind of stuff, what we want to do is become our own banks and stuff like that. So we don't want any middlemen. The middleman would be, I guess, us. We would all be the middlemen together, right? And we're using computers to basically, we're using the underlying technology to create, which is blockchain, to create something called a non-fungible token. A fungible token, something like a fungible token is like Bitcoin, or think of money as fungible, right? Cash. That's fungible because, I can exchange this $20 for $20 worth of
Items. Yeah.
well, no, $20 worth of Canadian dollars, which would probably be worth like, I'd say $25, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with think of, and now in order to make that $20 non-fungible, you can get like a celebrity like Michael Jackson to sign your $20 bill. And
Mm-hmm.
now the $20 bill has its own characteristic, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can either exchange it for something that's worth another, like something that's like, yeah, you can now, you can't really just exchange it. It has its own characteristic. So now the value went up because Michael Jackson has signed it, things of that nature, right?
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like trademarks and copyrights. Is that what you mean?
In a sense, it's getting closer to digitizing, like, I guess, trademarks and copyrights, but it's just basically something that has its own characteristic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see this shirt, right? The
Yeah.
actual material on this shirt is cotton,
Mm-hmm.
However much this cotton on the shirt can be traded for, it probably like 10 to 20 cents, right? For this one shirt. The whole shirt, 10 to 20 cents for the actual cotton, the material on the cotton.
Mm-hmm.
But now the work that we put in to create this shirt and everything, now that you have this dream bill, now you put the shirt together, you take the cotton, you turn the shirt into something. Now you can actually sell it for any price that, yeah, any price that you want to sell it for, because it has its own characteristics. But
Mm-hmm.
before you got it, you just saw a bunch of cotton and everything. Mm-hmm. And you can see you'd have to put it all together to give it its own characteristic.
So you're for the name, the material, and the purpose behind it. Like,
yeah, it's kind of like branding almost. Like if you see like a Gucci, like, okay, think of it like this. Like if you buy jewelry, right? Mm-hmm. This right here, this is silver, everything. Yeah. And but natural silver, regular silver has its own price, right? It's like about $25 an ounce right now, right? This isn't an ounce, but this is a whole silver ring. Now it has its own characteristic. So now I'm paying $100 for this one ring, specifically because of the branding behind it and the fact that it was created. It took time to create it and all that kind of stuff. It's just
like everybody's contribution. It's collected. Okay.
Yeah, like if you sell a T-shirt on the street, I can say, hey, this is worth $50 because I think it's worth $50. And then the only way for that it to be valid is if somebody else buys that for $50, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just, it has to have its own characteristics. Now, a token is something that you put on a blockchain, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing. So what you do is you mint a token, and it has its own unique characteristics, and you attach it to whatever it is that you want to attach it to. So you can attach it to music, clothes, anything, like a car. But right now, most people are just attaching NFTs to artwork, right? And so people will buy this kind of artwork, right? Because, art at one point was valuable. So basically, we're using this underlying technology called blockchain in order to be able to track everything. Because blockchain technology is a type of technology where you can see everything and everything is transparent. It's on a public ledger. All the transactions that go on the blockchain is on a public ledger, so everyone can see. But once you put information into the blockchain, that information will stay there forever. And like, in order to kind of like be a part of a blockchain network or community, you know, you just have to have a computer, right? And what you'll be doing with that computer is you'll be validating all the transactions to see if these transactions are real or not. You know, how that's happen is, how that works is your computer is basically given us a riddle, and it's doing its best to solve a really, really complex mathematical problem. And if it does solve that complex mathematical problem, you'll get kind of like rewarded with cryptocurrency. And while doing that, you're kind of like securing the network at the same time. So that's kind of how blockchain works. So NFTs, when you create an NFT, you're putting your information into the blockchain by minting a token. An NFT is basically a line of code, but you can attach that code to like a picture or a video or anything like that, you know?
Definitely. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences being in the spotlight, being on America's Got Talent, and how you transitioned to being in a film because you were on TV? Tell us that experience of you getting on the show, transitioning to moving to something bigger, you know?
Yeah, sure. Basically, you know, I ended up, first of all, I snuck into America's Got Talent. I did everything that I can to get onto that show because I knew I would be seen by lots of people and maybe somebody would be able to connect with me, right? Then after that, you know, I just kind of like learned about the movie industry a lot, because that was, I guess, mainly how artists like myself were making money, you know. Most artists would make their money by getting in a movie or I think things like that, because dance wasn't really cutting it too much. You didn't really have too many dance jobs, and I didn't want to be able to want companies to use my body the way, well, I mean, that, I guess that's not really what it was. I saw acting as a better way to make a living, you know? Yeah. And so after going on America's Got Talent, I just kind of used my fame to like open the door to newer opportunities. And then when the movie ended up calling me because somebody referred me to them, and they asked me to audition by sending in a tape. And then I just sent them a tape, and luckily I was like the only Boston breakdancer that can do it, and I had the look that they needed and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up getting a principal role in the Way Back, which was amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a big accomplishment. Not everybody can. Everyone says that they can be on TV and think they're going to get chosen, but actually putting in that commitment, kind of like if you're starting a YouTube channel or any type of business, you have to navigate your way through and get out of your head of being like, this will never happen to me. These people are going to be better than me. These people look better than me.
Yeah.
Just all these things that affect your mental state of mind. Because
it's definitely a mental, it can take a mental toll on you. Because when I was, after America's Got Talent, I, you know, growing up the way I grew up, I didn't really have the proper education to know how to capitalize off of it, you know? So I ended up getting really like down and depressed on myself. And I started getting depressed. And then out of nowhere, they called me when I was in New York City. And I was just like, wow, okay, there's something here. I think maybe I'm able to do something here. And then I ended up
to be some information like financial literacy. I think it should be taught while you're in high school, preparing you for college. Because a lot of people want to go chase their dreams of being an entertainer or some type of artist, there's money there, but the open doors are very limited. And
Yeah.
if you have that big hit, or if you even have that hit, it's hard to keep that momentum going because people see you at that all-time high, and you're kind
Right.
of competing against yourself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Financial literacy is like really important to learn. I've had to learn it like years down the line, and I'm still learning. I'm not perfect, you know. Um, Luckily, I was in a position where I'm able to make money on my own, and I have my own studio in Boston, which is really expensive in comparison to a lot of other places. But I'm not really rich. I don't have a lot of money or anything like that, you know. I still, but I definitely have a different mindset on what money was from back in the days, and you know what it is now. You know, but I think money plays a big role in the arts, and I've really I think if you actually were more financially literate, which I think, first of all, if they taught finance classes in high school, I would actually want to stay in high school. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if they taught me how to do taxes, all of that kind of stuff that they don't teach us how to do, I would have literally stayed in high school.
Like, we did learn about grants, but
I actually didn't
actually do grants. It's very limited. Like, they're very detailed on what the criteria is, and you're competing against hundreds, if not thousands or millions of people. The number just keeps increasing, and the budget just keeps getting lower.
Yeah. I actually never really learned about grants. I'm actually learning about it now, because I had to kind of stop what I was doing in high school and go straight into doing America's Got Talent and things of that nature, you know. Mm-hmm. But this goes to say, I will, like I said, like I really would, like if I was to go back to school and they had financial literacy classes, then I would have definitely taken those classes and done all the things that I need to do. Now I'm just researching on YouTube and learning about finances and stuff, which I'm still doing pretty good on, because I got Bitcoin early, way before it was even a thing, you know. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to capitalize off of things like that, things of that nature. So, you know, it's all a growing experience. But I also, my main point was like, I think if we had financial literacy, then a lot of people who are going after their dreams would actually be able to attain their, like get to their dream. Yeah, they have a better chance on getting their dreams because they have that mental background in their head. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I noticed when I was taking accounting in college, and it's just basic math. People don't know how to add, subtract, divide, multiply, PEMDAS. Like, all these things matter. People are very quick on getting a bookkeeper, but I'm like, you got to pay for the software. You got to pay for the accountant pro, whatever the terminology is, tax agent. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and you're wasting more money when you could be doing it yourself. Like me, for my business, I do my own bookkeeping. Maybe if I get employees and I don't have time to work on my own stuff, then maybe I would hire a bookkeeper or an accountant. But it's important to keep yourself at a budget and always keep in mind this can always go away, and what's going to happen next. And I think that's just the issue that a lot of small businesses, big businesses are running into, because no one was expecting this pandemic to happen. Like, it made everyone work from home or lose their jobs completely and rely on stimulus.
Yep.
And even with the stimulus, people were going crazy with their spending habits. But there was a report saying that the credit card debts were going down lower, which I was impressed by. But a lot of people were buying cars, houses, things that they can't afford, thinking that the stimulus would be here forever. But we got to back, and inflation is a real thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that like people are starting to wake up to these things and realizing how invaluable our US dollar is and things of that nature. And like, people are, I really hope that there's going to be like a great awakening in the next few years. I'm hoping it'll happen now, that way, because I have diamond hands. Because yeah, no, but not just because I have diamond hands, but I'm waiting for that, that great, like us kind of like learning how to vibrate together as human beings, on that level, because I feel like certain people are trying to keep us poor, and these are just my opinions. I don't want to get casted as some sort of conspiracy theorist, but
thank you for the disclaimer.
you know, so yeah, it's really exciting to see dance evolve, and bring actual value to dance, and find really great use cases for dance to become monetized now. Because like one of the greatest things about blockchain technology that I realized is that you don't need it'll allow dancers to have it will allow dancers to get like closer to having intellectual property. I mean, I guess intellectual property is mainly held by like the courts and the system, the judicial system. And depending on which country you are, everyone has their own standards on how things are. So it's not completely covered, you know? So
I have a couple more questions. I know for the pandemic, a lot of people were trying to navigate through, and you started, we were having a conversation about NFTs. How are you going to go digital? Well, your business is more hybrid because you have a physical space and now you're doing digital. So how's that transition been like for you?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm just kind of like learning the ins and the outs, understanding coding a little bit more, APIs and all that kind of stuff. Like really getting a great understanding. I mean, I'm building a platform for dancers right now to turn their dance moves into NFTs, which is kind of taking me some time because it's a lot of work, a lot of effort behind it. And then I also don't have funding. I don't know how to get funding. So I'm bootstrapping everything all on my own. And, you know, eventually the whole thing will pan out on its own, and I'll definitely be able to make it to that next level. But for right now, I'm just kind of like bootstrapping everything, just going out the street, perform, make my money, just take that money and throwing it into the company, and into all the things that I need to get done necessarily to make things happen, you know?
And the big question that people are having is hip hop, the style itself, dying? Or do you feel like there is opportunity now that there is the NFTs?
Well, hip hop is just kind of evolving on its own, but it was definitely hijacked, and hip hop's not what it was before, in my opinion. But for me, like, I'm not worried about it. It definitely set up a foundation for a lot of people around the world. And I think it's going to go in the history books like jazz dance, jazz music, all of that kind of stuff, you know? We're changing. Yeah, the whole industry is changing. Everything is changing. And I think people are becoming better human beings overall. Even though there's a lot of things going on in this world, people are definitely becoming better human beings, because we're able to communicate more often because of the internet. The internet is allowing us to communicate with each other on a really grand scale effectively, you know, like to the point where we wasn't really able to kind of communicate on these levels before the internet kind of came about. Like you and I were in two different places where I'm actually able to look at you, see you. It's not like a telephone, you know? So it's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I only have two more questions left. How do people participate in NFTs?
Um, there are many ways. The main thing is that the first thing you have to do is get a cryptocurrency wallet. Um, not a Coinbase wallet or anything like that, because those are centralized. You need to get like a more decentralized type of wallet. There's different levels to decentralization. Decentralization is like basically not having to rely on a third party to help with the transaction. I don't think everything can be completely decentralized yet. Bitcoin is decentralized, but like the wallets are really hard unless you know how to create your own wallet from scratch, using code and all that kind of stuff. But a wallet like a MetaMask wallet, you need to get, or a Solana type of wallet like the Phantom wallet. There's also different kinds of blockchains, like, you have Polygon, but you just need to like have these kinds of wallets in order to be able to receive and send out NFTs and mint NFTs as well. And then you just got to go to the proper websites. One way of creating an NFT, I created my own NFT by creating OpenSea, by going on OpenSea.io. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I'll look into it. And I want to finish this off on a positive note. Where do you see yourself in the future so we can keep updated with what you're doing?
I don't know. I think one day I'm going to have like a ton of money and I'm just going to fall off the face of the earth, and I don't want anybody to find me.
Start dancing in Mars, hey.
What'd you say?
Start dancing in Mars.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that either. I don't know if I'm ready to go to Mars at all. Like, I love the Earth. Going to Mars is just like, how do I want somebody to survive first. Like, you guys be my guinea pig, and then once everything is all settled, then we'll go to Mars. Let's do it later. So that's pretty much it. And hopefully the world doesn't have like a nuclear battle or anything like that. I think it's going to take some time. So, yeah.
This was great. Just to recap everything, hip hop is not dying. It's constantly evolving. The way that we started, it's always going to change as decades go by. With the more influencers there are, creating new spaces and new avenues for people. We know that the pandemic has stopped a lot of opportunities for people, but we're finding other avenues to make money because, in the performing arts industry, it can be very competitive and there's not a lot of funding that goes into it for some reason, even in schools. Like, you notice with schools, the arts department is usually the first to go. But if we show that it's important to showcase your creativity, like we had mentioned, hip hop is a strong style. It has its own techniques and its own aesthetics. Everybody has an opportunity to learn. Don't judge a book by its cover because it is more complicated than what it looks. Sign up for these if it's cost efficient for you. Do some research before you go into any type of investment. Talk to a tax professional if that helps. So I can make less room for errors. And thank you for being a part of this podcast episode. And please, can you share what social media platforms that we can find you on?
Instagram is The Real Snapboogie. Twitter, it's @Snapboogie. Facebook is facebook.com/SnapboogieAGT. TikTok is @Snapboogie. I don't know my YouTube, but Twitch is twitch.tv and then /The Real Snapboogie.
A lot of platforms.
Yeah, I know. Telegram is Snapboogie. But
I'll put all of his contact information in the description box, and you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at BPerryFilms. And I can't wait to work with the lineup that I have for the next upcoming episodes. And thank you for being a part of this. And I plan to work with you in the future. And yeah.
Sure. Definitely. Also, my website is snapboogie.com. So, that way it can bring you all to all the social media accounts that I have.
Okay.
So, yeah. Anyways, sorry. But thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of something so great like this.
Thank you.